Welcome back everyone to another video, and I know it's been quite a while since we've done anything audio related, but I wanted to give you an update and where we're up to with a few things and share what has become, I guess, over a year of work at this point of just trying to find my ultimate audio setup, as a lot of people will understand, constantly chasing, constantly replacing things, tweaking things, and trying to create an audio setup that you can call your own creation, I guess. So, what is going on here? Well, I'm basically laid out everything around the STAX project and my ultimate goal, and I've been down the rabbit hole of tower speakers, of dynamic headphones, planar headphones, and for me at least, electrostatics are where it is at. I have been just lusting over them. I love every minute I get to spend with them. I love a lot of violin, piano, strings, lots of ambient, sort of spacey type music, and electrostats are unmatched. There is nothing that comes close to them as far as I'm concerned. So I made that determination, and I had my original STAX amplifier that came with these units. They're L700 Mark IIs, by the way. I had to figure out how I'm going to drive them, and I entered the rabbit hole of the STAX bullshit landscape where you need $10,000 amplifiers, but you don't. But people tell you you do, and this is my attempt to get around all that crap and to build something that is all to my own. So, one of the reasons why I haven't done a video in a while is just because I've come so close to what I'm searching for. This Sansui amplifier, the Alpha 907MR, it felt like it was destined for me when I found it. We did a video on it, we went through it, we didn't rebuild it as such. We changed a few trim pots for adjustments, we cleaned the boards, messy soldering, stuff like that. There wasn't a whole lot to do other than switch gear and things like that. And it has become the amplifier for me, and it's one of the reasons I haven't done a lot of amps recently. I do have amplifiers coming up, but they're not in an attempt to dethrone this thing, because I don't think I can dethrone it, to be honest. Sometimes you get gear that comes across your path that just blows you away, and you're just sort of left there dumbfounded, like, well, what the hell do I do now? What you get so caught up in the habit of going from amplifier to amplifier that you lose sight of what you're actually looking for, and eventually you sort of find it, and this is it. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't leave me wanting for anything. It has more power than I could ever need. It generally never goes past 12 o'clock on the volume, and that is without the DAC even maxed out, so I have headroom forever when it comes to volume. The tone controls are exactly what STAX need to just tweak the sound a little bit. But little trick that for anyone who's using STAX, the loudness button, for some reason, on integrated amplifiers, completely transforms electrostats. I don't know what it is about it. I've tried to measure it. I can't really find the exact reasons why, but it just opens up the soundstage even more. It makes them more lively. There's more bass without blowing out the high end. It's just perfect. And the reason I've been doing all these other videos on my 3D printer and all that is because we're starting to come around full circle to making this system finished, instead of sitting on this garbage board thing that I have done. So step one was to get the printer up and running, and I made new ear pads for my L700s. These are printed in carbon fiber, and they look absolutely amazing, and they really improve the comfort on the L700s. So I've been really happy with that. These things are just so plush, and they are glorious. So the next part that I set out to do was to work out what I'm going to do with this janky thing, because this is so dangerous, it's not funny. With the amount of voltage that is just hanging around on top here, I really need to finish this up and move it into something, which led me to the next rabbit hole, which is what to do about the STAX connector. While I do have a spare, I've got this one here, I want this to be all my own project. So I went to the next step, which was to start designing STAX headphone connectors. These are all various prototypes printed in different materials that I've been sort of dabbling with: carbon fiber, onyx. This one was maybe my best, actually, and this was printed in PLA, which was really, really surprising. It cleaned up really nicely, but it left some things to be desired. These pins are really, really good. I was able to source them after a lot of hunting, but the spring or the tension on them is not perfect, and they left a little bit to be desired in regards to consistency, unless you want to go through a pack of like 100 and only keep like 10 of them. So I started to redesign the STAX connector, and this is just a prototype. It's not going to look anything like this in the final version, but I started adding retention around the outside of the pins. Can't really see it on that one. Maybe on this one. Yeah, there you go. So adding retention around the outside of the pins to compress them a little bit and to give them more tension on the STAX pins. And even as a prototype, these things are really, really good. And I just want to improve the look of them because they're 3D printed at the end of the day. So we're trying to CNC them as the final version, unless I can figure out a way to 3D print these even better. So, but yeah, that is why you've seen 3D printers and all sorts of other stuff on my channel, because it's all coming together in this project. The bias system, you would have seen the video where we designed this early on, has been flawless. Well, actually, sorry, there was one issue early on, and that was around the grounding for this unit. So the ground was shared between the DC plug pack and the LM314, the voltage regulator, and that was bleeding into the STAX headphones. So I made a slight change to it where I cut the ground between the input side and the output side, and now on this DC to DC voltage converter, which is transformer based, and there is no connection between the input and output side. So this entire section now, other than the amplifier inputs, floats. So this has created quite possibly the best background I've ever heard in STAX ear speakers. A lot of amplifiers have a slight hiss or a hum or something in the background it can be related to your amplifier, but the DC bias is just as important, I find. The bias basically sets the stage or the floating voltage for your STAX, and if the DC bias isn't perfect, it will bleed into your sound and create just abnormalities that are in very quiet tracks or just sitting there in the background when there's nothing playing. So this is, for lack of a better word at the moment, perfect. I cannot hear a single thing from this bias thing, even though it's a first prototype. I do need to redesign it on a proper board. I also want to add a bit more capacitance on the output. We have new capacitors, big film capacitors to keep this output section topped up, but it will always have a bleed resistor also to keep the DC to DC converter loaded. And it also has the added bonus, which I found later on, of if you leave your STAX plugged into this thing, it will discharge your STAX ear speakers also, so they don't attract dust and they're not sort of random charges hanging around in them and messing up your volume balancing and whatnot. So it will discharge it every time you turn it off. So yeah. So where to from here? Well, I need to finish these STAX connectors so we can replace. It's not going to go here. We may test it in here, but the final home is a proper enclosure, and I just dropped it. Is a proper enclosure that will be all aluminium brushed, like 3mm thick. It's a very nice unit. It's around here somewhere. But there is one curveball. There is one more transformer I need to try also, which has been brought to my attention. So I'm going to hunt that down and we're going to give it a go. They are much larger than these and may not be everything they're cracked up to be. I don't know. We'll try them. They're not too expensive. They're about $200 per transformer. So I can live with that and we'll try it. But as it stands, these Lundell LL1630s leave basically nothing on the table. The only single area that they struggle with is like 30 hertz and below. 20 hertz, you're good for about 300 volts RMS. 30 hertz, you're good for, I think it was around 400 volts RMS, and beyond 30 hertz, these things are unmatched when it comes to how much voltage they can drive out. And I'm not bought into the Blue Hawaiis and all the other direct drive amplifiers that are on the market. I want to see independent testing. I'm sick of audiophile bullshit about how good something is and you build like a cult following around them. Unless you've done independent testing and you get all the amps lined up and give them the same test, you just don't know. And I don't trust manufacturers. So unless someone wants to send one of those things my way and put it head to head with something like this, I'm going to stick with this. I'm not going to gamble 10 grand on the hope that an amplifier will completely change my life when I'd rather spend that money on X9000s or something else. So yeah, bit of a long-winded video. I just wanted to give you an update on where I have been, what I have been doing. We have more amplifiers coming up for restoration, but I've sort of been, like I said, blindsided by this unit that is just like, do I even want more amplifiers at this point? Because I'm not repairing them for other people. These were my own things to put in a collection. And when you get stuff that comes across, it just basically wipes them all away. You're sort of left with, well, what the hell do I do now? But I do still have some interesting amplifiers that I already bought, need restoration. I just need to get around to them once this cluster is done. Yeah, so I hope you just enjoyed this sort of quick update video. Like I said, there's a lot more content to come. If you want more information about certain things, let me know. But I will see you in the next video.